While everybody else is out here losing their minds on social media, desperately begging for attention, flaunting their leased sports cars, their luxury watches, and their curated vacations, there is an entirely different class of human beings running this world in absolute, terrifying silence. These people live among us. They drive ordinary, unassuming cars. They wear basic, unbranded clothes. They go to jobs that look boring, routine, and completely mundane. But behind closed doors, in a quiet, ruthless vacuum that makes zero noise, they are building financial empires so massive, so weaponized, that you won't even realize they exist until it is far too late and until any attempt to compete with them becomes absolute strategic suicide. This isn't just traditional wealth. This is the dark art of Machiavellian concealment. If you are ready to learn how to build a massive fortune completely under the radar, untouched by envy, and discover the 4 unyielding, ruthless laws of financial sovereignty, subscribe to this channel right now, shatter that like button, and type "I am ready for silent dominance" in the comments. Because what we are about to reveal in the exact middle and final minutes of this episode will permanently rewire your financial consciousness and hand you the precise weapon the wealthy spend their entire lives hiding from you. Let's establish a fundamental truth right out of the gate. Niccolo Machiavelli himself believed that real power never ever resides in exhibitionism. True power is found in the calculated, quiet work whose final results catch the world completely off guard. The objective here is not merely accumulating currency. It is about forging wealth and leverage so impenetrable that they shield you from the betrayal of time, without ever triggering the envy or resistance of those around you. This is where the critical divergence between 2 paths in life becomes clear. The first is the path of the dreamer, the individual chasing the instant dopamine hit, seeking immediate validation, broadcasting every single move they make. By doing so, they summon their enemies and invite ruthless competition before they've even laid the first brick. Then there is the path of the strategist, the operator whose only obsession is winning, period. They work in the dark, and they arrive at their destinations without a single soul ever hearing their footsteps. This hyper-connected social media era has turned the masses into validation addicts, desperate to perform their success. But from a cold Machiavellian perspective, every time you announce your progress, you are deliberately waking up a sleeping monster in the hearts of the people around you. The monster of deep envy, quiet sabotage, and invisible friction that will paralyze your momentum the second you slip. If we look back through the bloody pages of history, we find the Medici family of Florence, one of the most terrifyingly powerful dynasties of the Renaissance. Yet they maintained an aggressively modest, boring public profile. To the casual observer, they were just ordinary bankers. Their ledgers looked simple, their clothes unpretentious, but behind the curtain, underneath the table, they were manipulating papal elections, financing catastrophic wars, and moving armies and entire nation-states like pawns on a chessboard. Their true lethal power lay in the invisible portion of the iceberg beneath the water. This brings us directly to the first law of silent wealth, the foundation of silence and the illusion of the ordinary. Machiavelli laid it bare when he wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." The strategy here is to weaponize this exact human flaw against them.
Keep your appearance aggressively average, projecting a lifestyle significantly below your actual financial capacity, and let your true leverage compound in absolute secrecy. The moment an ordinary person experiences a bump in income, they immediately rush to lifestyle inflate. They buy a newer car, a bigger house, clothes plastered with designer logos. They are literally buying the superficial symbols of wealth instead of purchasing wealth itself. The strategist does the exact inverse. They lock their external lifestyle completely in place, taking every single dollar of financial surplus and aggressively injecting it straight into their hidden arsenal. Power built in the shadows grows 1,000 times faster because it wastes zero energy defending itself against the eyes of predators.
But when this hidden money begins to aggressively flow, what is the secret, mechanical engine that multiplies it without a single soul finding out? This forces us into the second law, deploying the silent armies. You must understand that the #1 silent killer of your generational wealth is not a volatile stock market crash, it is dead capital. It is cash left rotting in a traditional stagnant bank account doing absolutely nothing. Every single day that passes, a brilliant, invisible thief called inflation is actively bleeding the purchasing power of your money without ever tripping a single alarm. The financially sovereign understand that money is a living organism that must remain in hypermotion. It must be converted immediately into assets, impenetrable vehicles whose value aggressively compounds over time. Hidden real estate, private equities, index funds, or digital assets that grind and print money while you are dead asleep in your bed. A brilliant strategist never relies on their daily mood or fleeting human discipline. Instead, they engineer a cold, automated, merciless system, an automatic monthly sweep that yanks capital directly from the source of income and drops it straight into the investment crucible. They are building a financial army that goes to war for them every single day, completely devoid of emotion, requiring zero daily orders. Patience and absolute systemic automation in this law are the only keys to winning the long game. This is what guarantees that within a few short years you will possess terrifying financial leverage. But to the outside world, you remain completely invisible.
Now, the empire is expanding, it is compounding, and here we hit the most critical, high-stakes junction of this episode, where the intelligent viewer holds their breath. How do you protect this empire and conceal its fortifications? Welcome to the third law, the architecture of hidden defense and sovereign citadels. Relying on a single source of income, even if it prints millions a month, is absolute strategic idiocy. It is a fatal single point of failure. Any sudden shock to that specific pipeline is enough to completely bring down everything you have sweated to build. Real sovereignty demands radical diversification and absolute autonomy. But the dark Machiavellian twist here isn't just about building fortresses, it's about making the fortresses themselves completely invisible to the naked eye. Your defense must be engineered in consecutive, confusing layers. First, legal citadels, anonymous holding companies, blind trusts, and corporate structures that completely sever your personal identity from your assets. If anyone runs your legal name through a database, they find absolutely nothing. Second, social citadels, curating an inner circle of allies who possess the rare, dead silent skill of absolute discretion, while ruthlessly cutting out gossips and loose lips.
Third, digital citadels, a total disciplined absence from the blinding lights of fake internet trends. The absolute best defense on this earth is ensuring that your enemy, your competitor, or even those closest to you have zero idea that you possess anything worth fighting you for. Everything occurs in total darkness, in absolute, classified confidentiality.
And if you honestly believe that building wealth and protecting it is the finish line, you have fundamentally misunderstood Machiavelli. The deepest, most dangerous layer is what we uncover in the fourth law: adaptation or annihilation, and the accumulation of scorching knowledge. The balance of power in this modern world shifts at lightning speed, and the individual who fails to adapt to the new rules ends up permanently ruined and bankrupt, regardless of how deep their pockets are. Maintaining financial dominance requires a borderline psychotic obsession with self-education and continuous evolution. Look at Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest men to ever walk the earth. He spends hours of his long day locked in a room, reading and researching. Not because he is old-fashioned, but because he knows with absolute certainty that quiet, accumulated knowledge compounds and scales infinitely faster than money in any bank account ever could. A real strategist never stops studying. They dissect human psychology, market mechanics, emerging technologies, and asymmetric opportunities that the masses completely ignore because they are too busy staring at the superficial garbage on their screens. With this, we return directly to the foundational philosophy of Abba Torah El-Zil. True power is being completely invisible. Power is never found in the noisy, pathetic racket you make in your social circles. Power is measured by the sheer scale and reality of the pieces you manipulate from behind the curtain. In the absolute end, this is the ultimate cold choice that separates the weak from the kings and dictates human destiny. You have two paths stretching out before you right now, and there is no third option. You can choose the path of the dreamer, panting like a dog after the shallow glare of fake appearances, begging for attention and chasing human validation. You will spend your entire life drowning in debt, suffocated by the envy of your peers, and crushed by psychological anxiety. Or you can choose the path of the strategist, the individual who gladly sacrifices superficial glamour in exchange for cold, quiet sovereignty and absolute total mastery over their own destiny, completely hidden from the eyes of the world. The ultimate luxury isn't the world knowing you are wealthy. The ultimate luxury, the only true freedom on this earth, is being a king in your own shadow, building in silence, moving in silence, ruling your universe in absolute silence. The choice is yours. Balance the scales of your own mind.